Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone's doing alright, as always. You know, I never thought I'd like these things. Cherries. First started trying one earlier in the office today, and I must say, bloody pips. They are absolutely fucking amazing, let me tell you. I've already thanked the girl who gave me these. I've even taken a bunch of them home, or taking them right now. So I'm going to thoroughly enjoy those things. But of course you didn't come here to find out I'm popping my cherries. Or in my gob, I should say, before anybody takes that the wrong way. No, instead, this video is all about Jess Phillips, and to a lesser degree, Carl Benjamin, aka Sargon of Akkad. Because if anybody's been taking or paying any attention to the news, unfortunately, Carl has broken the biggest cardinal sin that you can ever do as far as the left wing is concerned. He apologised. Yes, he made an apology to Jess Phillips over the comment he made about I wouldn't even her. Obviously, his words, not mine. It is the one singular, most important rule about those NPCs on the left. You never, ever, 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 ever apologise to the left. Because once you do, you're basically handing power over to them. Carl, you've even said it yourself. The only thing you had done was you were basically very rude to Jess Phillips. Nothing more. And you know what? You have every right to do that. Jess Phillips has not got the right to not be offended. She is an NPC after all. And now she's discovering what her DEI, inclusivity and shit, her party has brought about. She's now finding that out as she's taking her seat in her constituency and being heckled to shit by pro-Palestine supporters. The only way you're ever going to get me to apologise is if I have made a genuine, terrible mistake. The same kind of mistake, let me think of a good example here. And I'm totally not going off of some of the actions of Jess Phillips. Totally not. Said no one ever. What about that time where Jess Phillips decided to laugh at the idea of men needing help tackling domestic violence? Yeah, she is one of those types. She basically screams feminist. Oh, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Because there's another one. There's another instance of her laughing and rolling her eyes at something, and this is much more serious. She did it over male suicide figures. Now, I don't know about you, but I consider suicide a very serious topic. One that one simply does not joke about and doesn't become Sean Bean while they're at it. Anyway, that is a topic one does not simply joke about because it affects so many people. It has affected people from all walks of life. Hell, even my mother tried to take her life at one point when she got to her absolute lowest point. I don't know if my sister did as well, I can't remember off the top of my head. And hell, I was driven to it at one point. So I know firsthand how serious that shit is. And here's Jess Phillips laughing at the idea of male suicide statistics. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me, it doesn't suit the narrative. Now for Carl Benjamin, I do feel a little bit bad for him, of course, because obviously he is a very intelligent guy, probably leagues above me. Or maybe I'm just putting myself down, I don't know. But I digress. He is a very intelligent guy, and he's basically, what's that phrase I'm thinking of? What's the item you give people? Oh, an olive branch, that's it. He's basically trying to give her an olive branch, and I wouldn't be surprised if she throws it back at his face. Because now, I guarantee you, people are always going to use that as a weapon against Carl. Now, some people I've even seen are saying he has to do this in order to be able to stand as a candidate, which I guess makes sense, because then at least they can't just keep using that as an excuse. But then, knowing these NPCs on the left, I suspect they'll still find a way anyway. So, Jess Phillips has got an apology from Sargon of Akkad. When can we expect an apology from her? Where can we expect an apology from her, not only for laughing at the idea that males need help for domestic violence, but also the fact she laughed at male suicide statistics? You cannot have your cake and eat it, Jess Phillips. But I can have my cake, go back to the store and grab another one. Anyway, you can't have your cake and eat it. You have to be able to do what Sargon of Akkad has done. If you truly believe that you need to have this apology... Yeah, you're welcome. If you truly believed that he needed to apologise to you, you should have apologised, Jess Phillips, over what I've just said right now. The fact that you laughed at the idea that male victims need help with domestic violence, and of course the fact you laughed over male suicide figures. Unless you do that, you're going to get absolutely no sympathy from a lot of people. I'm probably still not going to show any sympathy, because you're just one of those shills more than anything. You're one of those classic people that can dish it, but they can't take it. I can. I have had a lot of criticism over myself. And I don't go out of my way and say, oh, I blame everyone else for me being obese, for example. Because that's my fault. That's on me. But at least I can, as said, admit that. Can you admit any of your mistakes, Jess Phillips? Or are you just going to sit there and constantly play the victim when you are attacked by any sort of slight criticism? Are you going to cower away from responsibility when people call you out? And don't think I'm just saying this over a phone because I can't meet you face to face. If I can get the words out, that I can't meet you face to face. Let me tell you something. If I saw you in the street, I'd go up to you in 5 seconds and say, when are we going to have an apology for Carl Benjamin? When are we going to have an apology for all the men that you have basically slagged off by laughing at the idea of male suicide figures and domestic abuse? I would not hesitate to do that. You know why? Because I'm a man of principle. I'm a man who stands by what he believes in. And I believe in taking out the trash, as it were. Metaphorically speaking, of course. I want to see you, Jess Phillips, have the balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case both, to stand up on live television and openly apologise to all the men you've basically slagged off with your attitude towards suicide and domestic violence. Do you have the balls to do that? I suspect not. But I want you to prove me wrong, because nothing would please me more than to see a woman, or man for that matter, eat their own words. I have no problems with people being the better person and actually coming up and saying, you know what, I fucked up. I've done it many times in my life, let me tell you. Me and all 4 of my chins. But can we see you do it, Jess Phillips? Carl Benjamin's proven he can do it. Even though, quite frankly, I don't think you could deserve an apology. Let's see you do it. Because the way I look at it at the end of the day, Jess Phillips, is your party has brought this shit upon us. You, specifically and personally, have insulted men with your stance on these things. And I think the least you can do to get people to have a bit more faith, or at the very least forgive you for your atrocious actions, is to take a dose of man up pill, or woman up if you need it, and say those 2 words, I'm sorry. Say it to the people that you have basically laughed at all these years. Because let me tell you something, Jess. Suicide is no laughing matter. Domestic violence is no laughing matter. I think anybody with even half a brain cell can tell you that. And I'm not afraid to tell you that. Hell, if you were walking down the streets of Norwich, I'd tell you that to your face without even a second for thought. Hell, I wouldn't even think about it for a quarter of a second. I'd be over there before you know it to tell you this. Because at the end of the day, we all need to be better people. And I'm always trying to be a better person, regardless of my mistakes, no matter how big or small. But you, Jess Phillips, seem to prey on people who you think offend you. A sensitive snowflake who can't take somebody being mean to you on Twitter. I want you, as a personal request, to apologise to the men that you've insulted. I cannot stress this enough. And I'm hoping by repeating it enough times, you'll actually take notice, Jess Phillips. Because you need to apologise for the good of the men out here. You know, the men who go out of their way to work the much harder, much more difficult jobs in some cases than women do. And that's not sexism, that's fact. There are more men out there who are doing the more dangerous tasks, like working under the oceans in a submarine, risking their lives every day. You have scuba divers who go to the massive depths, deep diving. They put their lives at risk every day. Construction workers or scaffold workers who are constantly at risk of being killed just because, oh, there's a wasp around here. Anyway, just because they are on the edge of something, they could fall off, they could have something fall on them, they could have all sorts of things happen to them. They're working all these dangerous jobs, and mental health is no joke either. Mental health significantly affects men. I can tell you this from experience. One of my jobs, and I'm not even working in a bloody dangerous job, or have for that matter, I had significant depression issues when I worked my very first job during the last 18 months of said job because of the way I was being treated. But that is more something I'll open up to about a year down the line because I am still bound by a contract. But I have worked in situations, I've gone through depression, I've gone through mental health problems. And there are men out there who are working in those dangerous conditions that don't get that opportunity, that don't get seen to, or don't have the confidence to, because they have this general fear that the public will laugh at them and ridicule them because they want to be, well, they basically don't want to be looked upon as they're not a man. So I'd like to see you, Jess Phillips, take a look into this and actually apologise to those men. I want you to look into the mental health problems that men have to face, and they get basically discredited because of evil women like you. I want you to apologise so you can understand what we men have to go through, and you can maybe have the same level of integrity. Well, actually, maybe that's a stretch. I was going to say of Carl Benjamin, but I think that's a stretch for you. But I want to at least see you be the better woman, Jess Phillips, and show that you can actually care for those men that work hard every day, potentially providing an income for people who aren't working, unlike you, Jess Phillips. Because there are some women who aren't capable of doing the tasks that men can, and you need to show men a bit more respect. Because one day, some man's going to come up to you, and they're not going to be as civil as people like me or Sargon, and they're going to show you just how hard they work. They're going to show you just how much contempt they have for people like you who have no respect for the other sex.